Hi, I'm Pastor Scott. This is Extraordinary Connection, and I'm glad you're here. At one of the local restaurants in our town, situated near a corner booth, there is a small memorial to the first manned flight. On the wall are quotes from the Wright Brothers, Wilbur and Orville. There are pictures of the men, pictures of the first flight at Kitty Hawk, and even some framed newspaper clippings, all remembering that first day in flight on December 17th, 1903. But the last time I visited, I noticed, as comprehensive as the memorial is, they left out an important piece to the story: Samuel Pierpont Langley. At the turn of the century, Langley was a scholar and a well-connected politician. He served as both a professor of mathematics and as a professor of astronomy. He was instrumental in the development of what we call today time zones. He was the third ever secretary of the Smithsonian, the founder of the Smithsonian Astrophysical Observatory, and the recipient of academic awards both in the United States and France. And like the Wright brothers, Langley was interested in manned flight. He too experimented with different designs, different planes, different wing and motor configurations, different launch patterns, and before the flight at Kitty Hawk, Langley had successfully flew an unmanned plane almost 5,000 feet, just short of a mile. With his political connections and early success, Langley helped convince the government in the military applications that manned flight could offer, and Langley received financial support for his airplane research. A lot of money. Basically unlimited money. And he was able to hire the most brilliant minds in mathematics, in engineering, and other fields to help him with his airplane project. And contrast that with the Wright brothers, who had no government assistance, no team, and no extra spare time. They devoted all their flight work to the weekends and any other spare moments they could steal, and they cobbled old bicycle parts and reused everything they could to save $1. As I said, the Wright brothers had a successful manned flight of their airplane on December 17th, 1903. And on December 18th, one day later, Langley quit all of his experimentation. He walked away from his airplane project. Instead of taking the ideas of the Wright brothers and then improving on them with his team and his funds, Langley just quit. Why? Because Langley really wasn't interested in a working airplane or in manned flight. He was interested in the glory and the credit and going down in history as the first person to do so. Once the Wright brothers flew successfully at Kitty Hawk, Langley lost all motivation to continue because he wasn't interested in the flight, he was interested in the fame. His motivation wasn't about science or the advancement for humankind, it was all about personal glory and honor, so he quit. Langley has much to teach us in the church. We need to, as well, look at our why. Why do we do the mission projects we do, or the outreach, or the Bible studies, or the worship each Sunday? Does our why align with God's why for the church? The Pharisees and the Sadducees loved God very much, but over time, the way they worshiped got all mixed up. What I think started as a true and earnest desire to follow God, over time the Pharisees' worship became more about honor and prestige and accomplishment. They loved the law not because it was something God commanded them to do, but because it was something they could laud over their neighbors and say, "Look at me. Look how pious I am." The Pharisees forgot a key part of worship is to actually focus and worship God. When Jesus spoke to the Pharisees, he called them out because they had forgotten to love one another. I don't think the Pharisees didn't want to see people healed. They just emphasized following the law over helping others. And again, they followed the law to show the world just how glorious and pious they personally were. They got the basics mixed up. They forgot their why. When we examine our churches, our programs, our staffing choices, we need to keep two questions always in the front. Are we doing what we do because we love God? And are we doing what we do because we love our neighbors and want them to know God too? That's always our why in the church, loving God and loving our neighbors and bringing them to Jesus. Not good press, not bragging rights or accolades or plaques on the wall for the staff. Our why is always wrapped in love. So I encourage you to take a critical look at one small piece of your faith community this week. Look at the children's moment on Sunday, or the pancake breakfast the men always do each summer, or the flower bed in front of the church. And as you look at those pieces, whatever they might be, ask yourself, why do we as a church still do that? Why do we do what we do? Be honest with yourself and with your community. Maybe the pancake breakfast, which started out long ago as a wonderful community engagement tool, has become more of a social club in the church basement these days. Maybe your church has forgotten some of the whys in what they do from week to week. If that's the case, consider how you can get back on track and align each program, each choice, each pancake with loving God and bringing the good news of Jesus to our neighbors in love. Because that's why we're here. That's why we do what we do in the church. And if you've never seen it, I encourage you to watch Simon Sinek's TED Talk called Start with the Why. It will really help put things in perspective from a secular point of view. So friends, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again at extraordinaryconnection.org.